In this video, we'll speculate on what alien life could look like on the exoplanet Proxima Centauri b. When we think about where life might exist, we usually think of temperate Earth-like worlds with stable climates. But what if life could thrive on worlds that are far more extreme? Planets with alien conditions that would drive evolution down completely different paths compared to Earth. In this episode, we'll explore what life might look like on such an extreme world, Proxima Centauri b. We will look into the star it orbits, what we know about the planet, and speculate on 3 different habitats where life could exist. Proxima Centauri is a red dwarf star, which is the smallest type of stars, and they are also the most common, making up roughly 75% of all stars in the Milky Way. But red dwarfs pose several dangers to life as we know it, which we will examine in more detail. Proxima Centauri is the closest star to us, located only 4.2 light years away. 2 planets have been detected to orbit it, but the most interesting is Proxima Centauri b, which is located right in the habitable zone. Its mass is estimated to be 10 to 30% more than Earth, making it slightly larger. It is likely a rocky planet, but because it orbits a red dwarf star, the conditions here are completely different than Earth. Red dwarfs are far cooler and dimmer than the Sun. Therefore, a planet must orbit very close to a star to be in the habitable zone. This also applies to Proxima Centauri b, which orbits a star at 5% the distance between that of the Earth and the Sun. Orbiting this close to red dwarf stars poses several challenges for life. The first is tidal locking. This means that the same side of the planet always faces the star, similar to our Moon. This is caused by gravitational forces when planets orbit very close to their star. These planets will receive a tremendous amount of energy on the side that faces their star, making that side incredibly hot, while the backside of the planet could become incredibly cold. Another major issue with red dwarfs is that they flare. This means that they produce high levels of radiation that bombards any nearby planets. This could strip away orbiting planets' atmospheres, bombard any surface life with deadly radiation. Both of these challenges applies to Proxima Centauri b. It is likely tidally locked, and it is exposed to radiation from its star. But why then is Proxima Centauri b even considered to be potentially habitable? Models have suggested that the heat from the star-facing side could distribute to the cold side, making the overall temperature more temperate. The stripping of atmospheres could be prevented if a planet begins with a thick enough atmosphere. Or, if it has a strong magnetic field, a lot of that radiation could be deflected. Actually, one could argue that red dwarf systems are even more habitable than our solar system. Red dwarfs can live for trillions of years, way longer than the estimated 10 billion year lifespan of our Sun. This would give life in these star systems much longer to originate and to evolve traits and species we can barely even imagine. With the conditions of red dwarf systems in mind, let's imagine what kinds of habitats might exist on Proxima Centauri b. The most famous habitable region of red dwarf planets is the so-called Twilight zone. This is the strip between the hot day side and the cold night side, where temperatures could be stable enough for liquid water and life. Light here will be dim, and radiation from flares could bombard the surface. So what type of life could exist here? Like on Earth, plants could form the base of an ecosystem, but because of the continuous dimmer light, they might look very different from what we know. Instead of a green color, plants could evolve to be black or have a deep purple color, and be optimized to capture every photon in a dim environment. Since the light continuously only comes from the same angle, plants would orient their leaves towards the star. Mountains and valleys could create microclimates, each home to its own unique flora and fauna. Herbivores could graze on the black foliage, while predators evolved to hunt them. Plants could evolve sensory systems to detect when flares were starting, folding their leaves into protective pods. Animals might retreat into underground burrows, or they could evolve radiation-resilient shells that they could hide in during flares. Water effectively blocks radiation, so some animals living close to aquatic environments could evolve to dive into the water during flares. But flares could also create opportunity. Once other plants retreat during flares, smaller plants that previously was blocked from the starlight are now exposed. We could speculate that these resilient plants evolved to be able to absorb the high energy radiation during flares. But life might not be limited to the twilight zone where starlight is present. We could even speculate that life existed beyond the Twilight Zone, in areas that are never exposed to starlight. But how would life here get energy? On a tightly locked world, powerful atmospheric currents would circulate constantly, transporting heat and materials from the warm side to the cold side. Plant debris and organic matter could drift into the dark, much like how marine snow sustains deep-sea life on Earth. Entire ecosystems could form around this drifting organic snow, with similar types of evolutionary roles as in the deep sea on Earth, with scavengers and opportunists searching for food. Places that are sheltered from the wind could collect massive amounts of organic matter, each being an oasis of life in a barren landscape. But even the energy of the winds themselves could be harnessed. This mechanical stress could be converted into biological energy, and these organisms could form the foundation for a complex and totally alien ecosystem that would thrive on the dark side of the planet. We could imagine rich ecosystems, like plains and forests on Earth, teeming with diverse types of life that thrive without ever seeing any starlight. If Proxima Centauri b has oceans, they could be the safe havens for life. Because water blocks radiation, organisms beneath the surface would be shielded from the worst stellar flares. Oceans on the day side could host algae. Perhaps they could use chlorophyll-like molecules, as light here will be much more intense than in the Twilight Zone. This means green algae would grow in a sea colored red by its star. The continuous light could fuel massive blooms, forming the base of rich marine food webs. Races and predators could evolve just as they did on Earth. When life and plankton close to the surface die, they would sink or drift, forming marine snow that feeds the deep oceans. If the ocean span into the dark side of the planet, this marine snow could even drift there, sustaining ecosystems that will never see light, similar to the ecosystems found under the Ross Ice Shelf on Antarctica. If Proxima Centauri b is geologically active, hydrothermal vents in the ocean floor could provide yet another refuge. On Earth, these vents host entire ecosystems powered not by sunlight, but by chemosynthesis, where microbes turn chemicals from the vents into energy that can be used by life. These microbes would be the plant equivalents of the ecosystem, and there could be several feeding strategies. Limpet-like racers could feed on microbial mats surrounding vents. Using extremely hard teeth, they could scrape off and eat microbes. Another strategy could be suspension feeding, like what mussels do on Earth, for example. These organisms eat free-living microbes suspended in the water. But other creatures could adapt completely different survival strategies. Like yeti crabs on Earth, animals could be growing microbes on their own bodies, living in a symbiotic relationship where they provide a safe environment for microbes, which in turn serve as food for their hosts. Many more types of life could exist, and the biodiversity in these oceans could rival Earth, with life branching out from the surface to the deep, and from the light side to the dark side. So could there be life on Proxima Centauri b? We don't know. Some scientists argue the planets around red dwarfs are simply too unstable. They might be right, but consistently, life has proven to be more resilient than we ever imagined. So will we know soon whether life could exist here or not? Unfortunately no. Proxima Centauri b does not pass in front of its star from our perspective, so telescopes like James Webb cannot study its atmosphere directly. The Breakthrough Starshot project has proposed sending laser-accelerated probes towards Proxima Centauri b. These probes could reach up to 20% the speed of light, meaning they could reach the system in just a few decades. But this remains only a dream for now. Do you think that life could survive on a planet orbiting a red star? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, then check out my episode on another red dwarf planet, K218b. Here I imagine what life could look like in a heavy, hydrogen-rich atmosphere. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any other videos of what alien life might look like.